Hello everyone and welcome to LEGO Star Wars Hot Takes episode 45. As always, if you have any hot takes or controversial opinions about LEGO Star Wars that you want me to discuss next week, make sure to go ahead and drop them down in the comments below. But jumping right into it, this first one comes from Brady Baker. He says, hot take, I think it's weird when people complain about some sets having too many exposed studs. It's LEGO, it's gonna have studs. Get a model kit if that's what you want. And I'm not gonna lie, when it comes to the conversation of having sets with lots of exposed studs versus having sets that are all tiled off and clean looking, I'm honestly kind of neutral. I personally, for one, don't really care if a set has a lot of exposed studs as long as it looks good. And I say as long as it looks good because there are times when a set can have so many exposed studs that it looks very repetitive and kind of bland. The first example that comes to my head is actually the Dark Trooper helmet. On the top half of the build, there's just so many exposed studs that it just looks very repetitive and bland, like I was mentioning. Another example I can think of is the UCS Super Star Destroyer. There's such an enormous amount of exposed studs on the panels that, like I was saying, it just looks kind of bland and repetitive. But then if you look at something like the UCS Venator, there's a very nice mix of tiles and exposed studs to where it actually looks good. And the UCS Star Destroyer from 2019 actually does this pretty well too, where there's lots of tiles and different layers, and there's actually stuff going on, and it's not just bland because it's an enormous amount of exposed studs like on the Super Star Destroyer. So again, with this conversation, I'm relatively neutral. I'm not one of those people that's going to be all the way exposed studs or all the way tiled off. I just simply care if it looks good, whether there's exposed studs or not exposed studs. And again, the best example I can think of is the Venator, because it just has the perfect mix of tiles and exposed studs and looks really good. Now, regarding the part of your comment where you said just buy a model kit, I think that's a cheap argument. That's just like when people say, oh, if you want a detailed minifigure, go buy an action figure. Those are just cheap arguments in my head, and no offense, I think they're kind of just dumb to bring up. When it comes to a model kit, they're simply just not the same as LEGO sets, and they don't have the same build experience, which I think is what a lot of people are looking for. And you know, for someone that prefers tiled off sets, maybe they just want to have the experience of building a LEGO set, but they want the model to look really realistic. And you can't really get that with a model kit because the build experience is completely different. And the same thing goes for the action figure argument. I mean, people like LEGO minifigures because they're different than action figures. They're both two completely different products with two almost completely different experiences. Same thing with the model kit. It's just a different experience that us LEGO fans aren't necessarily looking for. Jack Signup 49 says, hot take, I like the brick built wheels on the mini Juggernaut from 2025. They're the most accurate and they would look good on a bigger turbo tank like the 2010 size. And I actually agree with this. I really like the wheels on the new turbo tank too. Now obviously they need to be bigger because the model is very small and turbo tanks are supposed to be big vehicles, but I think the design choice of using circular plates as the wheels was just a really good idea because it makes them look more detailed and more accurate, especially compared to the older wheel designs from the 2010 model. And I even like the sand blue bit in there. I know a lot of people were complaining that it's not accurate, but if you actually look at a picture of a turbo tank, there is some very slight hints of sand blue in the wheels, and I think that LEGO just did a decent job at capturing it here. Now, I'm definitely not saying the set as a whole is really good. It definitely has its pros and cons, more cons than pros. I'm just saying that I think the wheels were a great design choice. Better Call Saul says, hot take, Yavin 4 Rebel Base is the best playset of the decade. And yeah, bro, I have to disagree with you on this. Now, I will say that I think this set is actually really underrated and got way too much hate when it originally came out. I actually think the temple build itself looks really cool. It's an awesome display piece, especially if you have it like high up on a shelf. It just looks very menacing. But saying it's the best playset of the decade, I assume you mean the 2020s, is just going too far. When I think of the best playset from 2020, my mind immediately goes to either the Ghost and Phantom 2 from 2023, or the Star Destroyer from 2024, or even the ATTE from 2022. But those sets are just what I consider to be the best playsets of the 2020s. There's still a lot of other ones that I think are better than this Yavin 4. And I could make a huge list, but I'm not going to do that. Saying this is the best playset of the decade is just too far. I mean, I'd give it like the top 20 maybe. Eric PvP says, hot take, the 2016 turbo tank is by far the best turbo tank when it comes to accuracy and detail. And yes, I 100% agree with this. I feel like I've actually talked about this quite a few times recently. But yeah, I personally consider the 2016 turbo tank to be the best turbo tank LEGO has made. And that's mainly just because, like the comment says, it's very accurate and very detailed. I think it's the most screen accurate turbo tank LEGO has made. Now, when it comes to playability and just being overall a fun playset, obviously the 2010 one's going to take the cake because it's larger, there's more play features and functionalities. But when it comes to just being an overall good set, not just play features, but taking into account accuracy and detail as well, I think the 2016 one is just a bit more well-rounded. Prizzy JC Rebel Lee, I have no idea how to say your name, but he says, hot take, Rebel Alliance is the second most neglected Star Wars faction right after the Separatists. And I'm not gonna lie, I don't even consider this to be a hot take at all. It's more or less just a blatantly true statement. However, I still want to talk about it because I agree, and I think it's something that people need to talk about more. Rebel Alliance sets are very neglected, and it's honestly kind of annoying to me. I feel like the last true Rebel playset we got was the U-Wing from last year, but that's from Andor and not even the original trilogy. But sets like a standard B-Wing or a standard A-Wing or even a standard Y-Wing haven't come out in over a decade. I mean, the last B-Wing literally came out in 2014. And then the Rebel battle packs are even worse. LEGO barely even makes those anymore. The ones they made in the 2010s were freaking gas, especially the Battlefront one with the Rodian. I think that one's awesome. But nowadays in 2026, it seems like we'd just get about any other set before we'd get a new Rebel battle pack. And not to mention the Rebel capital ships and cruisers. The only Placeco Rebel cruiser LEGO's ever made is the dang Tantive 4. We've never gotten a Mon Cal cruiser. We've never gotten a Nebula B frigate. We've never gotten a Rebel transport ship. All we've gotten is the Tantive, which makes sense. I mean, it's very iconic, but the other ones are iconic and cool too. So again, yeah, I agree with this, and I just wanted to talk about it. I'd even argue that they're more neglected than the Separatists, to be honest. Mars is Cool says, hot take, it's genuinely impossible to make a Death Star that pleases everyone, and the Death Slice was the best they could do if it has to include playability and displayability. And this is just blatantly not true. I don't even think I would consider this subjective. A Death Star that would please everyone would be a fully enclosed Death Star that's very detailed on the outside and looks like a UCS set, that then has a functionality where you can open it up and access a very detailed interior to have play features and functionalities. And yeah, that's really all I gotta say. I think that Death Star would please everyone. Kyle Knight says, hot take, the OG Phase 2 Rex was trash. He looks so bad without an antenna. The new one may not be perfect, but it's far better. And when it comes to comparing these two figures, it's kind of just like pick your poison. With the older one, you have a helmet that can't hold attachments, so you can't put on his rangefinder, which is pretty iconic for Phase 2 Rex. And then with the new one, you have a printed comma along with an oversized ammo pouch print that both just stick out like a sore thumb and quite frankly look kind of ugly. So again, it's like pick your poison, a figure that lacks the accurate functionality or a figure that simply just looks visually unappealing. And for me personally, I'm gonna choose the one that lacks functionality because despite lacking the rangefinder, it looks more visually appealing. But that's just if I had to pick one between these two figures. I honestly think they're both kind of mid and both overrated. Alex Munchian, I guess that's how you say your name, he says, hot take, the TIE Fighter from 2012 is the best and most accurate model. And well, I mean, to each their own, this is your opinion, but quite frankly, I don't know why you're saying this. The 2012 TIE Fighter definitely was good for its time period, but when you compare it to something like the 2018 TIE Fighter, it's definitely inferior, which kind of confuses me as to why you're saying this. I mean, I don't think there are any areas where it's necessarily more accurate. I feel like when it comes to accuracy with TIE Fighters, the topic of minifigure scale is what everyone brings up, but both these TIE Fighters are pretty much the exact same size, so when it comes to accuracy, I don't really see how the 2012 one is more accurate necessarily. And when it comes to visuals between the two TIE Fighters, the 2018 one is definitely more detailed and has better shaping around the cockpit, and the 2012 one looks pretty outdated. So again, I don't really know why you're saying this, especially the accuracy part. I don't know where that's coming from, but hey, it's your opinion, so to each their own. Anyways though guys, that is going to do it for this episode. As always, if you have any hot takes or controversial opinions about LEGO Star Wars that you want me to discuss next week, make sure to go ahead and drop them down in the comments below. If you're new, please consider subscribing, and if you want to check out more of my videos, you can see them on the screen right now.